And we called that out and we said, what you are doing is you are using the government to attack citizens who have a right to support Trump. Trump's administration is now doing this. They are engaged in this. Sebastian Gorka, she is implicating as the character who is orchestrating this and saying, we need to full force respond to this. People thinking. This is so totalitarian to read this. Like, people thinking is problematic. People not believing the Charlie Kirk narrative. We're going to blame Pakistan. We're going to blame Russia. We're going to blame Iran. How about you blame the piss poor narrative that you came up with that had Superman necks, kids who had never been to campuses scaling the rooftops like Spider-Man, taking one shot, a bullet disintegrating, not being matched to a gun? How about you blame the narrative that you pushed and the most unbelievable widow that then took over his company and was on Zoom calls within 6 days laughing at emojis? Why don't we leave Iran and Russia and Pakistan out of this one? This is on you guys. Why don't you blame your emotional response assets for not being able to quite sell this one to the American people? Actually, people you are highlighting as being influenced by foreign ops are actually being influenced by their friendship with Charlie Kirk. That's what I'm being influenced by. My friendship with Charlie Kirk, the person I knew he was, and the people that I knew that he eventually surrounded himself with, who are, in my view, utterly satanic, and everyone can see what's problematic about Turning Point USA reversing course on everything he believed in including platforming his actual enemies. Why don't you blame the lies that you instantly came out of the gate with? The way you're treating Joe Kent for trying to investigate whether or not his assassination could have been a foreign influence operation. Calling him weak, referring to him as a leaker. The organization that his wife is at the helm of getting behind the smearing of the person who tried to investigate the killing of Charlie Kirk. I got a lot of things that I could blame before I blamed Russia and Iran and Pakistan. I digress. Back to her thread. Gabby continues. The internal comments attached to these reports are what stood out most. They talk about going after Fuentes, stating that undermining his Christian identity is probably a good idea. They contemplate getting Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles to publish on behalf of VFT. They suggest collaborating with NCRI-funded, with NCRI, which was founded by Joel Finkelstein, a multi-million-dollar organization that tracks hate speech on social media. Okay, pausing here to remind you of who they are. They were also the ones that came up with the report with my face on it, claiming that Christ is King was suddenly anti-Semitic. They cooked that one up. Christ is King is anti-Semitic. You know who they partnered with on that? Do you know who else was on that report? Here's Johnny Moore, one half of the Andrew Colvett duo. Here's Johnny. And Dr. Jordan Peterson, all trying to convince you in a psyop that if you think Christ is King, you might be falling for...
How dare them.
The dark tetrad.
Pure evil.
That's who
Christ
that
is.
And
King
now
and
we are
is
looking
coming again. He's King
at
of
Sebastian
Kings.
Gorka, allegedly, partnering and trying to essentially target Americans for not believing their lies. Wow. Let's partner with it.
After 3 car accidents, multiple DUIs, and a massive cheating scandal, there is an uncomfortable conversation surrounding Tiger Woods that many fans and his peers are actively trying to avoid. Tiger is a real-life hero to millions of people around the world. His legacy and impact spans generations, and he got there by remaining extremely disciplined on the course. But off the course, his life is the exact opposite. Behind the trophies and the carefully protected image was a man self self-destructing, lying to the people closest to him, falling victim to his vices, and putting innocent people's lives at risk. Tiger's story is not just about greatness, it's also about what happens when someone becomes so powerful that the world starts making excuses for behavior that would destroy almost anyone else. If Tiger Woods didn't become a sports icon, you could easily interpret his upbringing to be just as brutal as the countless child stars who were pushed into fame before they were old enough to understand it could ruin their life. Tiger wasn't really raised to discover who he was. He was raised to perform, to win, and to carry the expectations of his father, Earl Woods. Earl implemented discipline tactics he learned from his time in the U.S. Navy to train his son to be a golfer. His mother said when he was 18 months old, he would go to the driving range, and when he was done hitting, I would put him back in the stroller and he'd fall asleep. Earl reached out to local news organizations in Southern California for stories to be broadcast about Tiger, touting him as a child prodigy.
His name is Eldrick Tiger Woods, and since he was 8 months old, he's been playing golf.
From there, Earl got his son a nationally broadcast daytime television spot on the Mike Douglas Show. And every few years after that, there would be another news story about the future superstar Tiger Woods would become.
This is Eldrick Tiger Woods. And Eldrick is an accomplished golfer. He wins tournaments on a regular basis and has shot close to par on 18-hole courses. Incredibly, Tiger here is only 5 years old.
Earl spoke of his son as if he were a divine creation meant to change the world. I know that I was personally selected by God himself to nurture this young man and bring him to the point where he could make his contribution to humanity. Now, Earl wasn't physically abusive like other child prodigy parents, but he was putting in overwhelming pressure on Tiger to succeed.
He would get him on the road. It'd really make you feel insignificant.
Failure was never an option. Fortunately, he was able to meet expectations. Tiger was the youngest player to win the U.S. Junior Amateur title at 15 and the first to win 3. But the pressure wasn't just to play good golf. At 15 years old, he had the expectation to become a cultural icon to the level of Michael Jordan.
Since I'm black, it might be even bigger than Jack Nicklaus. I might be even bigger than him. To the blacks, I might be sort of like a Michael Jordan in basketball.
The world is ready for a non-white golfer to be successful.
Earl famously dubbed Tiger as the chosen one. Tiger will do more than any other man in history to change the course of humanity. I don't know exactly what form this will take, but he is the chosen one. He'll have the power to impact nations. Not people, nations. The world is just getting a taste of his power. Now, Earl would sound absolutely crazy if he didn't end up being kinda right. Today, even people who know nothing about golf know who Tiger Woods is. But it's not like he's in the first 15 years of his career, won roughly 42% of the tournaments he competed in while attending Stanford University, winning 11 of the 26 he entered. In his final year, he won 8 of the 13 tournaments in which he competed. But it's not just about getting first place, it's how he was winning. In the Pac-10 Championship, he won by 14 strokes. The 54-hole event lasted 2 days, with 2 of the rounds being played in 1 day, meaning they played 36 holes of golf, roughly competing for about 10 hours straight. And in that day, he broke the course record twice, shooting a 61 in the morning and dropping a 65 in the afternoon. He showed similar performance at the 1996 NCAA Championship. He broke the course record of 67 during his second round, and heading into the final, he was leading by 9. In his final round, he shot 80, or 8 over par, which was terrible for him, and he still won by 3 strokes. 1 month later, he dropped out of college to turn pro. Nike immediately signed him to a historic $40 million endorsement deal, which made other pros extremely jealous.
I guess, hello world, huh?
Woods entered his first PGA Tour event with the expectation to win, and the golf media thought he was crazy.
A victory didn't offer next to
A victory. To me, that comes off as a little cocky or brash.
Why go to a tournament if you're not going there to try and win?
You'll learn.
Now, although this interviewer seems like he has a stick up his ass, you have to understand that winning on the PGA Tour is something the overwhelming majority of professional golfers never accomplish. Some players spend 15 years on tour, make millions of dollars, and still never hold a trophy. Brett Quigley played more events than Tiger in his entire career and never won once. But Woods secured his first professional victory less than 2 months after he joined, in just his 5th professional start. Over the next few months, he racked up 2 more wins, but he truly set the tone for the career. He was in the 86th season when Woods joined late that year. The total prize money amounted to $101 million. Between 1997 and 2008, the total prize money rose by an average of 9.3% per year, bringing the PGA Tour's purse to $292 million by 2008. And between 1997 and 2009, Tiger Woods won 71 PGA Tour events and 14 major championships before turning 34. He was on pace to beat basically every record in history within the next few years. However, off the course, very little was known about Tiger Woods. He didn't invite the media to his house, and he infamously named his 150-foot yacht privacy, sending a message that his personal life was off limits. But then one magazine article released that turned into one of the biggest scandals in sports history and was the start of his downfall. In November of 2009, the National Enquirer was about to publish a story alleging that Tiger Woods was having an affair with a woman named Rachel Yucatel. Tiger caught wind of this and warned his wife, Elin Nordegren, that the story was coming out and he had only met Rachel at 1 or 2 social gatherings. He even put Elin and Rachel on the phone together, which was a way of somehow proving his innocence. Regardless, Elin was still justifiably suspicious, and once the National Enquirer ran the story, it included details about a secret trip he took to Australia with Rachel. On Thanksgiving night, Elin and Tiger had an argument which ended by Tiger taking some Ambien and going to sleep. Around 1 a.m., Elin grabbed Tiger's phone and saw a text message from Rachel that read, "You are the only one I've loved." Elin sent text messages pretending to be Tiger to Rachel that read, "I miss you," and asked, "When are we seeing each other again?" Rachel replied back, assuming it was Tiger, and then Elin called the number. Once she heard Rachel's voice, it was all the confirmation she needed that Tiger was cheating, and chaos erupted. She simply exploded, trying to hit him on the chest and arms with her fists, and then finally chasing him from the house while she wielded a golf club. Shoeless, he ran into the car and barreled out of the driveway before careening off a fire hydrant and then smashing into a tree. Now, this minute-by-minute breakdown of what happened that night was given to the Daily Beast by a source close to Elin, and the next part that is particularly debated is why the rear window of Tiger's vehicle was smashed out. It likely could not have happened from the crash, which implies that Elin smashed the back window out with the golf club that she was allegedly holding. However, it is debated as to when it happened. Most people say she did it while chasing Tiger out of the house. However, Elin says that she smashed the back window out after he crashed to climb into the car and save him. From there, a concerned neighbor heard the accident and immediately called 911.
I had someone down in front of my house. They hit a pole.
But what was Tiger doing?
At that point, he was snoring.
He was snoring.
He was actually snoring.
Do you smell any alcohol in here?
No alcohol, no any other kind of drug whatsoever.
Did you get close enough that you would think you would have smelled it had you been drinking?
Yes.
As for Tiger's injuries, a bloody lip.
Nothing on his shirt, nothing on his hands. I was holding him still at one point, and I didn't get any blood on me.
Wood's wife, Elin, was kneeling beside him.
She was actually very quiet, just kind of in shock. It wasn't very verbal.
It's also important to consider that at the time of the crash, nobody knew the story that built up to it. They just knew he had an alleged cheating scandal, and then a few days later, he was in a car accident, which made tabloids try as hard as they could to poke and prod into his life to connect the dots. He tried to get out in front of it with his first public statement. "This situation is my fault, and it's obviously embarrassing to my family and me. I'm human and I'm not perfect. I will certainly make sure this doesn't happen again. This is a private matter and I want to keep it that way. Although I understand there is curiosity, the many false, unfounded, and malicious rumors that are currently circulating about my family and me are irresponsible." But everything was about to unravel like he could never imagine. One day later, Us Weekly magazine reported that they discovered a second mistress. Jamie Grubbs, now 24, tells Us Weekly she began having an affair with Woods, age 33, in April of 2007. She said they went on to have 20 sexual encounters. In order to prove her affair was real, she leaked a voicemail that Woods left her, asking her to help him cover up his cheating.
Don't judge this man for his sins. For we are just so sinful.
My wife went to my phone and maybe call me. If you can, please take your name off that. And we call it, just have it as a number. on the voicemail. Just have it as your telephone number. That's it. Okay, you gotta do this for me.
It turns out Jamie leaked the voicemail out of jealousy after she found out that she was not the only woman Tiger was cheating on his wife with.
He constantly that year called me and talked to me and, told me he missed me and that, it was always going to be me and him.
She now knows he was making those same sort of promises to as many as a dozen other women.
If I was with him and he was texting, he would basically show me a text message or tell me who it was. So I never thought he was lying to me. And then, I asked him at some point, are you, when you go somewhere else, do you have another girl? And he's like, no, I'm too busy. I don't have time for that. And then he's just like, I just like being with you.
Tiger decided to publish a second statement to his personal website in which he conceded to have not been true to my values and the behavior my family deserves, although he doesn't directly acknowledge any type of affair during this statement. But every day there was a new woman coming out saying that they had slept with Tiger Woods. Within 2 weeks of the car accident, the list of mistresses had climbed to 11. Jocelyn James, star of Prawn Star Brides, joins a lingerie model. An unnamed television broadcaster, a pancake waitress with a thing for X in parking lots, and a host of women who spend lots of time in nightclubs on the ever-growing list of women rumored to have engaged in affairs with Woods. Some of them even did interviews on national television.
At that point, Tiger was recently married. Did you know that? Did you know he was married?
I did.
Was that something that you thought about at all?
It was a brief, it was a thought in my head, of course, because, I'm not raised to do something like I did, and I'm not saying it's okay, but, it was something that I did years ago, and I'm not saying that it's right, but, trust me, it crossed my mind.
I was so madly in love, I
judge
could
these
walk
women.
away. We would text every day, throughout the day.
How often would you see him after that initial meeting?
A few times a month. He would either come to Vegas, or he would have me come out to wherever he was playing.
Did you feel like you had a boyfriend?
Yeah, I did. And, I stopped seeing other people. I got out of the adult business because it was something that really bothered him.
Now, why were you making these types of sacrifices and changes in your life for him? Did you ever ask him to make any kinds of changes?
God makes everything
better. The only thing I told him was, just please be honest with me. You tell me that I'm the only other woman in your life besides your wife. Just don't break my trust and don't hurt my feelings.
The media was absolutely ruthless towards Tiger at this time. It's all they could talk about.
Well, here's the thing, though. She is speaking out. Who isn't speaking out? Tiger Woods. Give her some credit here. She's doing more than Tiger's doing. She's putting her face out there, and she's apologizing publicly to Mrs. Woods. And she didn't think about everything. She didn't have the power in the relationship. She didn't have the power. She's a cocktail waitress. He's a billionaire. Who do you think had the power in the relationship? Put the blame where the blame should be. One place and one place only. And that's with Mr. Woods.
To put the media onslaught into perspective, the New York Post made Tiger's scandal the front page story for 20 days in a row. They wrote more consecutive stories about Tiger than the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Realizing that he could not escape this, Tiger eventually admitted to his infidelity, announcing that he would be stepping away from the game of golf indefinitely. Now, you might think that this was all blown way out of proportion, and that's a fair opinion, but you have to consider why this story was so big. Most major American sports are built around aggression and intensity, so hearing about a cheating scandal from one of those athletes might not feel that surprising. Golf, on the other hand, has always carried a much more polished and disciplined image. There is a heavy emphasis on tradition, etiquette, and order. The game is often called a gentleman's game because players are expected to enforce the rules on themselves. There aren't referees watching for your mistakes. If nobody sees you break a rule, the expectation is that you call the penalty on yourself. Honesty is crucial to ensure fair competition. Even off the course, fans expected Tiger to embody these principles. He often spoke about his love of being a father of 2 children and clearly emphasized the importance of his family. At the same time, the lives of elite athletes are often built around a level of obsession that most people will never understand. Sun up to sundown, their entire identity becomes tied to performance. For someone like Tiger Woods, every round, every interview, and every public appearance carried enormous pressure. It's clear that he was using women, and possibly drugs and alcohol, as an escape or release from the constant discipline. The problem for Tiger was that his version of escape directly contradicted the image of integrity that made the world admire him in the first place, and many of his brand deals and sponsorships fell through as a result. Gillette temporarily halted their ad campaign with the golf icon before eventually deciding to end their relationship in late 2010. Accenture, a global consultancy firm, took a hard stance against Tiger, directly describing him as as
hit
no
rock
longer
bottom.
the right representative for their brand. Tag Heuer, AT&T, and Gatorade would follow shortly after. And now that his businesses were collapsing, he had no choice but to finally address this thing head on. Woods hosted a near 15-minute press conference broadcast by ABC News where he apologized countless times for his behavior.
I stopped living by the core values that I was taught to believe in. I knew my actions were wrong, but I convinced myself that normal rules didn't apply. I never thought about who I was hurting. Instead, I thought only about myself. I ran straight through the boundaries that a married couple should live by. I thought I could get away with whatever I wanted to. I felt that I had worked hard my entire life and deserved to enjoy all the temptations around me. I felt I was entitled. Thanks to money and fame, I didn't have to go far to find them. I was wrong. I was foolish. I don't get to play by different rules. The same boundaries that apply to everyone apply to me. I brought this shame on myself. I hurt my wife, my kids, my mother, my wife's family, my friends, my foundation, and kids all around the world who admired me.
Tiger vehemently denied the rumor that Elin bashed his rear windshield or was violent towards him in any way.
But there's one issue I really want to discuss. Some people have speculated that Elin somehow hurt or attacked me on Thanksgiving night. It angers me that people would fabricate a story like that. Elin never hit me that night or any other night. There has never been an episode of domestic violence in our marriage, ever. Elin has shown enormous grace and poise throughout this ordeal.
Despite his efforts to clarify his story, South Park still created an episode that depicts Tiger as the victim of a violent attack, with his wife chasing down the car and breaking through the rear window. The narrative and jokes surrounding Tiger's wife being violent towards him, specifically with a golf club, was too big of a scandal that people still to this day believe Elin beat Tiger with a